love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome to Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the Indy Report. And I have with me today, I have Tariq Wilson and Brandon King. While Brandon get his camera situated, how you doing, Reek?
Pretty good, man. I mean, all things considered, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Like, for those who don't know, I was across. I guess you call it's still across the pond, even with
Europe.
Europe. All of Europe's across the pond. A lot of times they say that just for the UK, right? Yeah. So I was across the pond. I got back Monday night. I had to go work on the other podcast that I do, cover the Panthers that weekend. Got to check out the game in Munich. Had a blast.
Did they win?
Yeah, we won.
Okay.
That's all I can ask for. We won. You know, we're not the worst team in the NFL anymore. It's great. You know, it's beautiful.
Congratulations.
We needed it bad. Listen, when you're a Panthers fan and an A&T football fan, it's rough sledding, bro.
Ooh, man, that's tough.
It's rough sledding. So, Brandon King will be back soon. Oh, there he is. He's back. Oh, he's standing on business now. What's going on, Mr. King?
Hey,
how's it going, good brothers?
Hey.
Doing good. Doing excellent. So, how's it going on your end, man? How you feeling today?
I can't complain at all. I know we'll get into it a little bit later in the show, but based on what happened this weekend, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not as quiet as I'm out. So.
wait, did you do the dab like it says?
Like a half one when I was walking past the kids' room. Like a half one.
All right.
Okay. Look, man, you're the only one that's sitting pretty in this panel right now. I'll say that, especially when it comes to football. So let's get into the intro real quick. Welcome to episode 582 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the HBCU sporting diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the stories of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, David Rhodes. With me, I have Tariq Wilson and Brandon King. And we are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Fame famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. So, anything that intrigued you guys this week from the HBCU sports diaspora, so to speak? I'll start off with you, Reek.
Let's see. South Carolina State just beating up everybody. So I find them intriguing, especially with that coach. I was a little skeptical of whether or not that message would translate, but it has so far. So they're good. And then Norfolk State women beating Missouri. If I'm not,
that is correct.
That's correct. So those are two big stories for me.
What about you, Mr. King?
I'm going to say the Johnson C. Smith picking the worst time of the season to fall off a wagon. Do
they have injuries? What happened there?
I don't think they had any injuries. I don't remember reading about anything. They picked the absolute two worst weeks to have the two worst games of the year.
Yeah.
Momentum's a heck of a drug, right? Momentum works both ways too.
Yeah. It's like when you get it rolling, sometimes you can't hardly stop it. But when that thing gets turned in the wrong direction, man, it is HE double hockey sticks trying to get that thing turned in the right direction. So
And it's funny because I talked about the last time I was on the Sunday Kenyatta Cavil episode, we were talking about whether or not Johnson C. Smith could lose to Livingstone, and I said, "Look, man, hangovers are a thing, and if hangovers occur, it could be rough sledding for those guys." But the crazy thing about it, even with those 2 losses, they still might end up in the playoffs because of who they beat.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
You know, so it's going to be fascinating to see if they still make it with an at-large spot, because you know they've beaten the top 3 teams in the conference.
Yeah.
Top 4 teams, right? Because they beat Shaw, they beat Winston, they beat Virginia Union and Virginia State. They beat all 4 of them.
Yeah. There's some weird twist, right? Not all of the conference games or the games against conference members count as conference games.
It's the first one that doesn't count.
Yeah, man. So
if you only had, I think it's like if you had 8 or 7, I think the first one didn't count, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And, you know, so when I think it was Virginia Union that lost to them, that didn't count.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's, you know, it's funky how that fell, primarily because St. Aug couldn't play their football year, and they ended up having to cancel all their sport and all their athletics for the season. And so that caused this situation. And then there was a legitimate argument of maybe the CIAA champion might not have done enough to get a bid into the Division II playoffs, which is kind of crazy to think from that regard. For me, Norfolk State, the women of Norfolk State, and they got 2 potential WNBA prospects on that roster.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And them going and beating Missouri was a beautiful sight to see. I just saw a recent report. Shout out to Stephen Gates, HBCU Game Day. I guess Dawn Stady announced that she's planning on going to Coppin State to play a game there, which is beautiful to see as well. I know that the Lady Aggies recently, last night, hosted UNC Chapel Hill. Didn't go the way that they wanted, but they got to host them at Club Corbett. That's the 4th game in a row that they had at least 3,500 people in the game. So pretty good streak the Lady Aggies are doing with regards to attendance for their basketball school, for the basketball team. You know, A&T is slowly getting back to their roots of being a basketball school.
No choice.
No choice indeed. Shout out to Edwin Moore. Good evening, sir. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy weekend. HBCU while I was away. Like, unfortunately, the wild thing being in Germany, I couldn't watch anything on ESPN. ESPN Plus was not in my region. It was very unfortunate.
No VPN?
Couldn't get it going, man.
But
Flow Sports worked.
Okay.
So, but ESPN did not. So I did get to catch some of the A&T Villanova game, because the beautiful thing about being out there is kickoff there is 6 p.m. their time, because it's a 6-hour delta.
Mm-hmm.
So like NFL, so like it was great on Sunday when after the NFL game, I got to go to a bar and like watch all the 1 o'clock games, because by the time the Panthers and Giants played, all the games were on.
Did you have some schnitzels?
I did. I had chicken schnitzel. Schnitzel was phenomenal.
Yeah, man. They love schnitzels out there. Yeah,
schnitzels and sausages wherever you want them.
Right.
That was everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere. But it was a pretty good setup. They had bars for certain teams, not just for the Panthers and the Giants who played, but they also had a bar for the Falcons. They had a bar for the Bucks. They had a bar for the Patriots. Like, they had separate bars, and like the environment that those bars were crazy. It was fun. So I had a blast while I was out there. So let's get into our first commercial break. When we get back, we'll talk about some football, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think we'll probably cover all 3 of those between the 3 teams. So
yeah, we should start with Brandon. Start with the good.
Oh yeah, that's why I went in that order.
Yep.
Good, bad, ugly. So we'll be right back right after this break.
Yep.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, episode 582. So before we went to the break, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we will start with the good, and that is Tennessee State. Continuing on, fighting for that FCS playoff spot and potential Big South OVC title. How'd it go this weekend, sir?
Went up to Western Illinois and they got a 45-20 win. And it looked like it was going to be blowout city really early. We've talked about on previous shows that in conference games so many times over the past several weeks and even into last season, Tennessee State would get off to these slow starts and have to dig themselves out of a hole to win these games. So they got up, they scored on 4 consecutive drives, up 28-3. And they were actually driving to probably put the game out of reach, but Draylon Ellis, who he started off the game really sharp. I would probably say the one bad decision that he made, he threw it I believe we're in the red zone, in the double coverage, and they intercepted it at the 5-yard line. Then they proceed to drive 95 yards in 4 plays. You go from being potentially 31-3 to 28-10. And that was right before the half. Then they got another score, and it was 28-13. And tacked on a couple more and kind of put it out of reach. But all in all, was a good win, a much needed win. I would say not only, in terms of this season, like I said, to keep them in the hunt for that Big South OVC crown. I don't know what that came from. But I think from a program perspective, you got that 7th win. You finally kind of got over that hump. TSU has not had a 7-win season since 2016. And so for you to get to that threshold is huge for the program, and all the attention that they're getting. So it's a great win. Obviously, next week you go up to Boiling Springs, North Carolina, to take on
Gardner Webb.
Thank you.
Gardner Webb.
I'm here to help. I was a Big South guy too. Remember?
So were we.
So,
So were we.
and with them, like I said, they're just coming off a win against Eastern Illinois. They had 11 sacks in that game. 11. So I don't know if we're going into previews, but that's something that they're going to have to be mindful of, and not have Draylon running for his life. But just from what I've looking at them, and said we beat them last year. I think Tennessee State's good enough to win that game. Which again, these games that come down the stretch are must wins if you want to not only look at a potential postseason berth, but potentially in the Big South OVC. Because just a week ago when we were, it looked like SEMO, had everything sewn up, and then all of a sudden they drop a game, and now the conference is a lot more open. So definitely want to keep winning. And one thing I was very impressed that I saw was Jalen McClendon's his defense on Matthew Henry, which is their big time wide receiver. He had just come off several big games, and he put him on McClendon Island and he locked him up. So I mean, it was an incredible all around performance for the good guy. So as you come down the stretch, you got two more, and then we'll see what happens. But right now the program is in a good spot, and because of that, and well, I get to that a little later when we come back to it, because there's some interesting news that potentially floating around Kennesaw State. And
I saw it, man, and I want your thoughts, because so those who don't know, there's speculation that Eddie George is in line to potentially get the job at Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State just recently let go of their head coach after a 1-9 start, I believe. After their first year in FBS, they're letting him go. He built that program from the ground up. Went in FCS, started a program, had a phenomenal run in multiple conferences during that program, and then the first season FBS they went 1-9 and they let him go.
That's
so now
great.
It's insanity. And there's talks that Eddie George has a legitimate shot to get that position. We'll see though, because you know how these things go, man. There's gonna be like 5 or 6 names. Only one guy can get the job. So, but what are your thoughts?
Well, a couple things. One, I'm not, in terms of his name being bantered about for coaching jobs with the program in the direction that it's headed, I'm not terribly surprised. Because when you start to have success, people want to sniff around and kick the tires and see what's going on and see if they can get your guy, because they want to, can he do for us what he did for them? So from that standpoint, it doesn't really surprise me. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't see it happening, at least potentially not yet.
No, not yet.
No,
because if that's even in his his vision, because I look at when he got there 3 years ago, the cupboard was pretty bare after Coach Reed left, and you can see he's been kind of building it, as old folks say, brick by brick, and now you're at the point where you're starting to realize the fruits of those labors, and do you really want to just go ahead and leave to perceived greener pastures right now? That, in fact, his son Eric is there, so unless he would potentially be going with him to KSU, I don't see it happening. And then, aside from that, if I'm Eddie George and his team, and I look at how they did Coach Bohannon, I'm like, well, Dad, he built it to where it was in one bad year, and y'all just run him like that. What's this? And he had history there. What's to stop y'all from doing it to me?
Fun fact about that as well too. He was the lowest paid FBS coach.
Yes.
So the price has to go up. So they're gonna have to be willing to pay a bag to the next guy that they get. They could be in a situation where they could probably think they can probably get Eddie George at a cheaper rate some of the other coaches that they want. But we'll see.
Because Georgia's at 400 now.
Yeah.
And what Bohannon was 370.
Yeah. Bohannon is making less than A&T's head coach right now. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether it be Eddie George or some of the other names, they're gonna have to use a crowbar to pry open that checkbook. They can't take the Carl Winslow approach in terms of finding a head coach.
And what's that?
Being cheap.
Being cheap.
Right. Right. You know what I think that because I got a chance to see, I don't know if you saw it, Dave, but we got a chance to see that Kennesaw State program front and center when we got to the Big South. And that dude, the coach was winning because they were running that unique offense. They were running that triple option or whatever. But with the rule changes, you can't really run that anymore. So I think he struggled to adjust to that. And also, he's not paid well, but he's kind of a tough figure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see there's other reasons why they jettisoned him too, besides the 1 and 9. That all might play together, but he probably ran his course there too.
Well, it's a situation where I hate saying this, but it's a situation where he got you to FBS. Now it's time to bring in the guy that can get you to the next phase while you're in FBS. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't necessarily get to keep the gig that you had when you was in FCS. So, but it's going to be fascinating to see how that situation goes. It sounds like they're looking for this coach immediately. I agree that Eddie George will probably stay put at Tennessee State. I can see scenarios where another guy that I haven't heard mentioned yet that could be fascinating, Willie Simmons. Willie Simmons. Like, I mean, now I don't know if that's where he wants to go, but I mean, it's still a thought. I know his goal, part of the reason why he made a decision to make the jump to FAMU was for FAMU to be the running backs coach at Duke was to get those FBS opportunities. And here's one at you. And you're in Atlanta, so you got a pretty hotbed of talent in Georgia. So you can probably do some damage there if you wanted to. So it'd be interesting. All right, so let's get into the bad. We'll go with you, Reek. Because it'll be a good segue for me since we're playing we're playing last week's opponent next week. So,
man, Hampton lost to Towson 27-10. It was a close. It wasn't really that close, like on the scoreboard. Hampton got some scores late, but it was actually Hampton played well, better than the score looked. I mean, we kept them to under 200 yards of total offense. But they just shut down our running game. I mean, we almost had 200 yards of rushing, but it really wasn't effective. So they forced us to throw, and we ain't that good at passing the ball. So once we had to pass, things got ugly. So I mean, I think that's what hurt. But if there is any silver lining, the defense has really come to play the past couple of weeks. Ever since William and Mary, something happened. Since we got that beat down to William and Mary, the defense is playing very well. So that's one thing to hang our hat on. But Towson is good. Like, they're always good. They're always big. They're always strong. They're always going to punch you in the mouth. And that's what they did to us. But I think this game showed everything that we need. We need a quarterback. And we need a quarterback who, me and Jeff always talk about this, but we need that guy who can convert 3rd and 8. You know what I mean? Like, the CAA quarterbacks do that. The good ones do that. And we don't. And that's what happens. You put your defense in bad spots and the 3rd and 8s, then the defense knows what time it is. So, I mean, it's a problem. So we need a quarterback who can really throw the thing and predictably and reliably. It just showed that.
So I got a question for you, because I know y'all been playing the 2 QB system, and I noticed that Malcolm Mays only got 1 pass in this game. So have they made the decision that Zealous is the guy for the remainder of the season?
Man, maybe I could see that. I could see that. That's a good point, because we were talking about this too. I think it could be an audition for Zealous to see if he can keep the job for next year, or if they need to see if they need to go hit the transfer portal. I think they need to hit the portal. I think that die has been cast, and it's time to move on. But he's a nice young man, but he just can't throw the ball. He just can't throw it, just flat out, reliably and predictably. But it could be an audition, because Mays, his eligibility is up, and but he's a better thrower. But yeah, I think they're probably giving Zealous a chance to win the job for next year. Because I think also, Hampton got some NIL money, and I think
it's time to pay somebody.
Yeah, it's time to pay somebody. So they're raising a lot of money. So I'll up my contributions a little bit more. If we can go find us a quarterback. So I think that's it. Just a passing game. It's just flat out not gonna get it done.
All right. And who do you guys have up next week?
We have Richmond. They are the number 7th ranked team in the country.
At Richmond or at home? Or at Richmond or at the?
We're at home. We're at home.
Okay.
So
y'all play tough at home though.
Yeah, and I mean, only team that we played William and Mary. They were number 11 at the time. Of course, they beat us down. Rhode Island. They've been a top 15 team at different points. We lost to them in overtime. Let's see. Villanova, number 12. That game was 14-20. That game flipped because our coach decided to go for it on 4th and 1 from the own 20-yard line and didn't convert it. So that was the difference in that game. So for the other top 20 ranked teams we played, they've all been one-score games, except for William and Mary. So that, I think we can do some. But Richmond, I'm glad they're leaving. Actually, glad they're leaving.
It's funny you say that because Richmond was the closest CAA game that we had. Crazy enough.
Yeah.
we were up 10-0 at one point, and then we ended up losing by 3.
Yeah.
So that was Fami's best game.
So it's happy. I mean, if we win this one, we can win. We can finish 7-5. If we win the last 2 or split, 500. So that's better than what everybody thought, including myself. So that's the positive, that glass half full side of things.
Fair enough, man.
Yep.
And then we get into the ugly. A&T is 1-9.
This story is fascinating, man. The A&T story is just fascinating on so many fronts, man. So many fronts.
It is the story that keeps on giving. If you want to give to it. 31-3. We went up to Philadelphia. Only had 50 yards passing between the two quarterbacks.
That's 2. Wow.
Yeah. Here's another stat for you, man. Both of them had more rushing yards than passing yards in this game.
Whoa.
So, Braxton Thomas, who was the quarterback starter, who got the majority of the work, who's a true freshman, he was the leading rusher for the team. Like, if we can't run the football, we have no shot. Point blank, period. But the crazy thing about this was a 1-possession game going into the third quarter. At halftime, we were only down 10-3.
What happened?
21 unanswered points.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that'll do it. That'll do it every time, right? Like, I was watching the game in the second quarter, and I was watching. I was like, all right, because this is one of the only games I could watch. I was like, all right, they're doing all right. And then they come out in the half and come out after the half, and they do the third quarter shuffle. They don't make no adjustments, and they can't score anything. And Villanova had no issue scoring against us. And
man,
at the end of the third quarter, it was over.
Can I do something for you, Dave? Now, I consider you a friend, dear fellow. Can I rattle off some numbers here, man?
Sure.
31-3, 45-7, 21-7, 59-17. That's the last 4 scores for y'all.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's sad about it seems like Aggie fans done quit.
Well, the thing is, and I gotta give the football team credit because they have not.
The fans.
The fans. I'm gonna be curious to see how. Well, next week we play Townsend at Townsend. I don't anticipate us having a shot at that game either, man. And it's funny because our margins tend to be closer on the road than it is at home. So, like the what happened against William and Mary, that was at home.
Damn, probably no Bojangles on the road.
No Bojangles on the road. No cookout on the road.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think they're more locked in on the road, but the teams that they're going up against are just more talented to them. Yeah. They execute better. And Townsend's coach, even though he's in his second year, man, that guy won a national title in Division II at West Florida. Yeah. So, it's rough. It's rough sledding right now for the Aggies right now, man. It's not going to be easy going up to Townsend. I know they're going to do a meet and greet, so that'll be interesting. They are going to have tailgates out there because we got a pretty strong alumni presence in the DMV. So and in Baltimore. So there's going to be a strong presence there because Towns is not that far from Baltimore. So, it's going to be fascinating to see if we can try to keep this game competitive. They asked the coach about whether or not they were going to play Braxton Thomas for the remainder of the season to see if they're going to, but if they do that, he will lose his red shirt. So I don't think they should. Let him keep his red shirt. So maybe playing one more game, but he said he's going to assess and make the decision regarding that. But Fabi has not been playing well over the past couple of weeks. And it's part of the reason why he's not getting as many snaps as before. So they're just trying to see what they got and see what the plan is going to be after the season.
You know what this means for y'all? That means your coach better hit the portal hard this offseason.
He's gonna have to change. He's got to change his philosophy on the portal. I don't like. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. Like we're probably gonna end up 1-11 this year, and I don't think that's gonna be acceptable a third straight year. He's got to hit the portal. He's gotta quit the portal,
and it'll work too. I mean,
it will work. You got he can't come out here with another one or two win season next year. He has not won a conference game in the CAA. He has not beaten a Division I program this year. He's only won one Division I program this entire time since he's been the coach in 2 seasons so far. Whoa. He cannot do that next season. I understand it takes time, but then you see somebody like Stony Brook who was winless last year, and they got a shot to make that CS playoffs. So, they hit the portal. You can turn it around if you want. You can turn it around, but I know he's going to have to adjust his philosophy about how he goes into the portal. So I think right now he's been primarily recruiting high school kids, and that's great to grow the program, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now I think he's got to go get some hog mollies. He's got to get some defensive linemen. He's going to have to get some offensive linemen. He's got to decide what he wants to do with quarterback. He might be okay with quarterback. Kevin White has been out for the season, so. If Kevin White comes back, you probably got a starter. But overall, it's portal time. And I'm in portal time.
Has he hit on any of the freshmen that he's brought in? Because, with the way a lot of good freshmen trickled down now. So Hampton really got some players that were ready to go to FBS schools, but fell out for one reason. And they're starting now, as freshmen and making contributions. So does he have any freshmen who actually make impacts? I think
Cortez Lane has made some pretty good impact. I think Daniel Cole's got the potential to make some impact. But at the quarterback position, time's going to tell, right? Like Braxton Thomas, I don't think they had any intention of playing him this year. I'll be honest with you. I didn't anticipate it. But then when Kevin White got hurt, Fabi comes in. Now you have a true freshman as a backup. Makes sense why you might as well go see what you got, right? Yeah. And I think Braxton Thomas has promise, but it's asking a lot to bring in a true freshman into this conference. This is a tough conference. So we'll see long term about how that's going to go. But yeah, it's rough in Aguilar right now from that standpoint. And A&T Roy kind of got it right. This is pretty much what it is right now. We haven't quit yet, but we're mad and disgusted. I'm curious to see what the numbers are going to look like from an attendance standpoint. When we played William and Mary, I think we had 7,300 people that came to that game, which was pretty good. Considering it's the post GHO game that tends to be the lowest attended game that we have. So that was a pretty good number considering how bad the team has played, considering what you guys did to us during GHO, right? So yeah, don't remind me, okay? I was there. All right, I was there. But anywho, after this break, after this commercial break, we'll go over some we'll talk some HBCU hoops. We'll run down it as fast as we can within a 10 to 15 minute time frame. Go over some of the good and the bad with regards to that. There was not too much ugly there, at least from our 3-team standpoint. So we will be back after the next break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com
and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less? You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. As we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. All right, guys. Football season is almost over, and basketball season has started. And we've had some crazy upsets. We've had some good things, some bad things that's been happening within our programs. I think we'll start with Tennessee State today on this segment. How are you doing over there? How's the men's and women's basketball teams going at Tennessee State right now?
Well, the men are 1-2. So, of course, they hammered Fisk in the first game, lost to Colorado State in overtime, and then Wyoming kind of put it on us by about 15 points, which I'm be honest, I honestly kind of expected for them to take some of these lumps in non-conference play. I suspect they'll pick some games up on the back end and then kind of pick it up in conference play. Actually, they're playing right now. They're playing Howard in the HBCU All-Star Challenge, and
that should be winning.
The score, they were losing. It was 30-27. I'm pulling it up
it's a
right
close game. It's a close game.
Yeah, it was. I had the live stats pulled up.
Now, y'all, I mean, Howard are the favorites to win that conference, to win the MEAC. So that would be a big fat thing. Y'all can pull that off.
That was, yeah. I mean, what Coach Blackney's done there. I mean, at Howard he's done a phenomenal job there. So, yeah, that would be a big win. On the women's side, they currently are 2-1. So, Coach Dupree took her first L in the last game against Lipscomb. They're typically a solid program. And to be honest, that game was kind of over in the first quarter. Anytime you got outscored 25-8. And they shot 3 of 17 in the quarter. I think 0 of 5 from downtown, and you only make 2 of your 6 free throws. You already find yourself in a hole, and it just got worse from that point. They were down by 35 at one point. They didn't they just didn't shoot the basketball well, and you know, a good team like Lipscomb was able to take advantage of that. So they've got who we have. I can tell you right now who we've got coming up here. Of course, my technology wants to go a little bit slow, but they have got Dayton. No, I'm sorry, Wright State on Friday. So we'll see what they can do against them. Overall, in terms of both the programs, I think on the men's side, this is going to be, I look at it in some ways kind of like the football program, in terms that kind of last year they were kind of knocking on that door to kind of being in the upper portion of what was going to be said and done in the Big South, or OVC rather. And will they be able to kind of break through that this year? And somewhat with the women, obviously you've got Coach Dupree coming in, so there's a lot of fanfare and interest from that standpoint to see what she's going to be able to do. They've gotten off to a good start, but they've got a kind of a tough game coming up. So in terms of that, I think it's going to be kind of a season to see if these two teams rather, can finally start to really establish themselves as perennial contenders in the conference and kind of break through to kind of some of those upper echelons in terms of the conference.
All right, Miss Big Reek, Hampton's in rebuilding mode as well for both the men and women's sides. But how are your two teams doing?
Yeah, man, we've got two new coaches, both rebuilding, as you mentioned. Both teams are picked to finish last in the CAA. I think the women, they have a more complete roster, so I think they have opportunity to not finish last. The men, it wouldn't surprise me if they finish last, just because the lack of size. But both have played relatively well. I mean, had some bright spots so far this year. The women are 1-1. They won to Bowie State, and a game that was closer than what it should be. And then they lost to Radford, and they had a lead there, but let that go. So they're 1-1. The men are 1-2. Their problem is they don't have a lot of size, and their size they have is young. So in the CAA, they're gonna get pounded. So we'll see.
Man.
If the shots ain't falling, man, they're gonna get pounded. But they do have an interesting some good storylines. So this kid Noah Farrakhan, he was supposed to be like the next big thing coming out of high school. I think like sophomore year or so, he was like the number 1 rated player in the country, like a legend up in New Jersey. So some things happened. He went to a couple colleges. His career didn't pan out. But the funny thing is that, he has like a crazy amount of Instagram followers. So like anything he does on Instagram, it has 20, 50,000 likes and everything like that. And he can play too. Like he's keeping us in the games. So they're 1-2. There's some good story. They're gonna play fast. It'll look fun, but I think they're just gonna struggle on the boards, like what happened last night. Side story. I was in New York at Cat's Deli. So that's supposed to be a legendary place to go eat. So I said, let me go try this place. And it was at the same time when Hampton was playing. I figured it wasn't gonna be close. So I finally get to the line, have my sandwich, probably the best sandwich I've ever had in my life, and I sit down, and Hampton is up 8 points at halftime.
I learned that you guys were playing in Providence. I had a conflict. I would have took the ride because PC's only like 10 minutes away, and they play at what they used to call the Dunk, but they play at the MEAC Pavilion.
It looks nice. It looks
oh no, it's nice in there. Yeah, like I've gone to a couple hockey games that they've redone it.
It's all shiny.
Oh yeah, no, it's the main arena in Providence.
Yeah, man, it's nice.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was eating my sandwich, but they let go of the lead. But it showed what they can do. They play really hard and smart, but then Providence, they just start hitting the boards, man, and it was a preview of what will happen this year if the shooting isn't on. So yeah, they're gonna struggle, but they'll be fun to watch. They got some guards who can shoot and do a lot of crazy things. So it'll be a good watch.
I've only gone to one Providence game in my life since I've moved up here, and that was when they took down Pittsburgh, who at the time was the number 1 team in the country. So I said, That's it. That's it. That's the one, right? So the Aggies,
y'all looking good, man.
The men are 1-2. I mean, we beat up on Cheney, right? Wake Forest, they look really good, but it's Wake Forest, ACC team. George Washington University, we had our chances to win that when we ended up losing by 5.
Oh.
I like what I see so far. The next couple of games are winnable. We go to the Citadel, and then we're gonna take the Morgan State Bears and put them back in Harbor Nation out in Club Corbett on the 20th. So we play the Citadel on the 17th in Charleston, and we come back to Greensboro to play Morgan State on the 20th.
Ooh, I might see that. What day of the week is the 20th? I might come see that.
The 20th. That's a Wednesday.
Ooh, maybe. Yep.
Yeah, that's a Wednesday. Yeah, so if you don't make it to the show, it's understandable. But yeah, it is a Wednesday. But I will be. I'm gonna have it up on It's gonna be on Full Sports. So I'll have it up while the show's going on for us.
What if I did it live from Club Corbett?
It'll be too loud.
I'll put my noise canceling earphones on. Well, that won't help the mic, right? Dang.
It might. If you got some good ones, it will. But it's gonna be loud in there, man.
Unless Morgan State winning.
Nah, it'll be loud in there. We ain't got no problem at Club Corbett when they show up.
Right.
And that'll be the second home game of the season because our first home game was against Cheney. So they're gonna be ready. They're gonna be ready to play out there next week.
Yeah.
Now as for the Lady Aggies, they're currently 0-3.
0-3.
They're 0-3 right now. I talked about last week. I talked about Southern Methodist SMU when they went over there and the roof leaked. They had to play in the practice gym. They ended up losing 13. They lost arguably their best player on the team, Malia Bacrone, in that game. She's still out. But they had Rice on the ropes. They had like a 7-point lead going in the fourth quarter, and they kind of gave it up at the end. They lost to Rice by 1. That was a tough one. That was a tough loss. That was a winnable game in Houston. They hosted the University of North Carolina last night in Club Corbett, and they ended up losing 66-47. They kept it a game for the most part. They played tough. They have Mercer next on the 17th, and then they have Winston-Salem State on the 21st. Then they have the school down the road on the 25th. So so I think we can probably end up 3-3. We're still trying to get healthy. Shania Clark, our center, she was out for the first 2 games. She played against UNC. So, we're just trying to get healthy right now, but we're missing Bracone right now. She's our best defensive player as well. But Jordan Dorsey's been balling out of her mind. She's been playing at a very high level against these opponents. She's pretty much carrying the team from an offensive standpoint. But we got some pretty good talent. I'm not concerned about us still. We were projected to go first in the CAA. Still not concerned there. So we're gonna be good to go. We'll be healthy when it comes to conference play. But I would like them to start getting some of these wins. We got a big game, and I know Lennon mentioned it earlier today. We got a big game against Norfolk State, December 15th, Club Corbett. I bought my tickets yesterday. And let me tell you something, guys. There weren't too many tickets available left for that game. So for all you beholders out there, you trying to go to that game, y'all better hurry and get y'all tickets because there ain't too many seats left in the reserve section.
That's amazing. That's amazing to actually be almost sold out of that game and the students will be gone.
I know. I mean, it's the week after graduation. It was the same weekend, I think. Might be the same weekend as graduation. I believe it's the same weekend as graduation. I think it's that same Saturday. Because it's celebration. I think the graduation is Celebration Bowl weekend. So with that, the way that Coach Rob said is like, hey, just come back the next day because the game's at 2:00. I'm driving down from Atlanta. I'm going to Celebration Bowls. I'm planning on driving down. So, but now we played UNC tough, man. We played them tough, and the crowd was there. It was packed in there, man. So it was great to see that. I want to keep that energy going throughout the season. So that was great. All right, we're gonna take the last break, and when we return, I'm gonna ask you guys a question, not HBCU related. It'll be a fun question to close out the show. So when we come, we will be right back after this break.
Oh, they're taking the lead.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? the Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Lavert Experience and Sunshine Anderson. Immerse yourself in interactive art, take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app that brings Eatonville's legacy to life from your phone. Enjoy family-friendly STEM activities and explore over 80 unique vendors. Please don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets or to become a vendor. We'll see you in Eatonville, the oldest Black incorporated municipality in the country.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Welcome back to episode 582 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with David Rhodes, Brandon King, and Tariq Wilson. And Tariq, you are very blurry, sir.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm not sure where that came from.
Put your hand like this and it'll probably fix itself. I didn't do it. All right.
Oh,
I don't know what's up with your focus, man. But
yeah, I didn't change anything either.
Yeah, that's weird. That's what typically that'll happen with mine occasionally. It'll get cleared up. I'm assuming you guys are boxing fans, so I gotta ask you, man. Is Mike Tyson gonna knock out Jake Paul this weekend?
That's a good call. I don't know. I haven't been following. A couple guys asked me, "Say, hey, you got it?" I said, "Actually, I didn't know that was coming up."
Well, I mean, the fight should happen months ago. I'll watch some boxing, but I think it's time. Yeah, Mike's got to take this guy out, man. I need him out of here. I need to get him out of here. Now your camera's back. Look at that. Yeah,
so the fight is still happening
this Friday on Netflix.
I knew I shouldn't have trusted Newsbreak. They be sending out some false stuff talking about the fight wasn't going to happen and all this nonsense.
Yeah, it's looks like it's going to happen.
All right, enlighten me quickly. So what's the significance of this fight? Because I'm still nostalgic for the '80s Tyson, which
this isn't going to be the '80s Tyson, unfortunately. But you don't expect that, right? But I think the big thing with him, I think for Tyson to win this fight, he could do it because I think he's still got the power. But the thing is, Jake Paul's been training himself as a boxer, and he's not half bad. So Jake Paul's been fighting a lot of folks that are over the hill and knocking folks out. Whenever he actually fights an actual boxer, he tends to lose. So, I think Tyson wanted to do this fight. It's a big payday for Tyson. It's a big payday for Jake Paul. I'll give him credit that he actually trained to box, but I need Tyson to knock this guy out. I need to see it. Tyson's pushing 60 though. I think he's like 58.
Yeah,
yeah.
But,
he should clean him up. But if he does, that's like the worst thing that could happen to the Jake Paul boxing experience. Him to get devastatingly knocked out. And I don't know if he can pay Mike enough like he did Tyron Woodley to take a dive. Oops. Did I say that?
Oh, he definitely took a dive.
So, I think that's what we all want to see. And I'm almost,
the good thing is the good thing for me is that I already have Netflix, so I don't have to pay anything extra for this. Like it's already in the bill. It's already covered. So if you got Netflix, you can watch the fight on Friday night. But, yeah,
I will check it out just if nothing else, to morbid curiosity.
That's it for me. There's a big UFC fight too, but that's Saturday. I'll deal with that on Saturday.
Isn't that every boxing match? Morbid curiosity.
Yes. Morbid curiosity indeed. But nowadays boxing is what you get here. Like this is probably gonna be one of the biggest fights of the year, right? And you're talking about one guy who's been out of his prime for close to 30 years and another guy who was a YouTuber that decided to teach himself how to box.
Yeah, that's probably why I fell out of love with boxing many, many years ago because of that.
Yeah. Well, the bigger problem was they never fought each other. Like the best never fought the best. The politics always got in the way.
They were so concerned about keeping it zero.
Yep.
In the record, you know, it's not the boxing that we grew up on, and probably now when you saw what Bud Crawford did to Errol Spence, we may not see some of those fights that the people want to see and that the sport needs.
Mm-hmm. That'll fix the sport. But it's the politics of the sport, man.
It's very true. Very true.
It's the politics of the sport. But I wanted to ask y'all that because that's the big fight of the weekend. You know, I mean, I could have talked about some HBCU games this weekend. I mean, I could talk about whether or not you think South Carolina State gonna clinch the MEAC this weekend. I think they are.
I think so.
Yeah, against Morgan State. Morgan finally found an offense. You think they're gonna finally? You think South Carolina State gonna do it?
Yeah.
What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, they may have found an offense, but they ain't gonna find enough. So,
man, that sucks, man.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it to all of Bulldog Nation. If you have not already started to get your bookings and your accommodations for Celebration Bowl weekend, go ahead and start that process now.
Yeah, it becomes
no disrespect to Coach Wilson and Morgan State, but I'm sorry. I mean, the way this team is playing right now, these cats are on a mission. So
yeah, mailman got to go to work. Mailman got to go to work. The next question: will Jackson State clinch the SWAC East this weekend?
Who do they have?
Alabama State.
Oof.
Yes.
It's in Montgomery, isn't it?
I don't think it matters because they're on their fifth quarterback, but I think the game should be in Jackson this year, if I recall. But I could be wrong. I have to double check.
Well, I think Jackson State is better top to bottom. I know Alabama State is, and I said
it is in Montgomery. It is in Montgomery. You were right.
They're one step above having to pull somebody out the stands to play quarterback for them. But and it's at home. I'm sorry, man. I think J State just got too much for them.
Yep.
I mean, granted, it won't be easy because they're going to play hard. They're going to compete, and Bama State has a really good defense, as we know. But yeah, I think Jackson State's going to win. And then I wonder. So let's just say Jackson State goes to the Celebration Bowl and they win. That's interesting because you had another coach who came in with all the bells and the whistles and couldn't get it done. And then you got TC Taylor comes in with more of an old-fashioned approach.
Doing it in the second year. and he had to gut that team when that previous coach left.
Yeah.
And so and I said when they hired TC, he was gonna get one. And this is the opening. And do I think South Carolina, I think Jackson State will probably end up being the favorites. This is those two guys, if those two teams. And South Carolina State could absolutely be Jackson State, but if there's an opening, it is that. And Russ, let me be clear, man. I'm not underestimating Southern. I just don't think they have enough. And I think Southern.
You can underestimate them.
No, because they've been playing really well down the stretch. I gotta give them credit. They've been playing well. Graves got them boys playing. I just don't think they're gonna have enough.
Some of those wins have been kind of crazy, and I know that when it comes to these sorts of things, sometimes you do have some of these crazy, I don't want to say fluky type wins, but under unusual, atypical circumstances, if you will. But I don't think you could beat a Jackson State with that. You've got to come in and play good football for 60 minutes. And I just think if it comes to that, Jackson State has more dudes, and I think they're just a better team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're gonna see. Like I haven't bought my game tickets yet, but I already got my hotel and flight booked to head to Atlanta. Because A&T's gonna be there anyway, because they're gonna be at the band of the year. But all right, let's close out the show. I'm already after 8 o'clock.
Huh? I see what you did there. You had to
Absolutely. We're gonna be there anyway. We look, man, it's the Aggie Invitational. It's the Aggie Invitational until further notice. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I'm David Rhodes. Shout out to the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from Dr. J. Kenyatta Cavil, come from Inside the Lab in the College HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. And shout out to Tariq Wilson and Brandon King, our co-hosts, for the Indy Report. We hope you enjoyed. We look forward to you next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Make sure you follow us on our Twitter handles that you can see right here, ChampD1012 for myself, the HU Pirate Strip on X, and make sure you check out sneakershoptalk.com where Brandon King is doing some phenomenal articles over there. Shameless plug. As you should. Make sure you follow Dr. Kenyatta Cavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, and Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk to you soon. Reek.
Of course.
Brandon.
Lecture.
Dismiss.